But the one place that was built on forgiveness is often the one place that is devoid of it. And in fact, in 2004, Christianity Today surveyed pastors about the top 6 sources of conflict. Number 1 was control issues, then vision and direction, which Will Mancini talked to us about, leadership changes, pastor style, financial issues, theological issues. Interestingly, theology is number 6 on the list. It wasn't even the most important factor of conflict. But do you recognize any of these things in your churches right now? I'm convinced you can't have growth when these barriers are present, especially when these barriers are what everybody talks about in meetings or in the hallways. So before I give you the biblical prescription for preventing unhealthy conflict, let me illustrate the difference between healthy and unhealthy conflict. Take Mrs. Miller, the matriarch who started Sugar Hill Baptist Church with her husband, who ain't gonna let you, the upstart preacher, move the podium from one side of the stage to the middle because it's always been there. Her family is distant. She now lives alone. But her church, in seriousness, her church is the one place where she finds security and tradition. Mrs. Miller will fight to keep at least one area of her life the same as it's always been. Many of her friends are passing on. Her own health may be deteriorating. Her husband is no longer with her. He's passed on maybe. Many different situations are possible. But if you know these things about her, you can interpret her nastiness that you might feel through a lens of compassion and address her need, which is an even stronger need than her need to be heard, her need to feel loved and secure rather than reacting to her attitude, which is on the surface. Let's say you're a pastor of a church that's not thriving, and you may have a Gordon. Gordon is in many churches. He's a middle manager by day who's tired of taking orders at work. He finally finds himself in a position of authority as a deacon or committee chair, or maybe even a Sunday school teacher. This is the chance he's been waiting for all week to flex his authority muscle and tell others what to do. He relishes the power. People look up to him when he prays. People believe he is the sage of prayer. He's the one man that can speak to God on their behalf and be heard. But he doesn't. He goes home. He doesn't feel as respected. He does the best he can to lead his family, but no one seems to respond to his authority. So what happens? He disengages from his family. He spends more time at church. As a result, he gets asked to sit on more committees and take on more projects, which pull him away from his home. Then you, the innocent pastor, come along, just trying to serve your flock. You decide to split the choir into 2 smaller groups, younger and older group. Everyone agrees this will be great. Now you'll be able to attract more young people to your church and getting involved in the choir while keeping the more traditional program intact. And everyone agrees except that is Gordon. And the reason is he is one of the leaders of the choir in addition to everything else he does. You have unknowingly stripped him of his authority that he has felt, that he has craved after a week of being under the thumb of someone else. But he reacts by lashing out at his young co-leader, who, the poor young soul, has just received his first volunteer position of his life, and he is fired out of a cannon, excited to lead something. And then the problem is Gordon then confronts you in a deacon meeting. Do you have a Gordon? Many small churches do. Someone whose ego is stroked by his church work. But if you don't know the factors driving his bad attitude on the surface, again, you can get sucked into unhealthy conflict because you end up dealing with those things that are just on the surface and not with the heart. It's much better to get to know Gordon, help him deal with authority in his life, both with his boss at work and in his authority position at home with his family. Rick Warren said a lot of conflict is caused by people wanting to feel important. And I say amen to that.